Welcome back to I'm playing. Y'all mind if I gush about the Owl House? The day has finally come. Nearly 2 years since it was announced alongside Amphibia, which, please, check out Amphibia, it's also great. The Owl House is finally here. Disney's new horror comedy series created by Dana Terrace, who's alumni of both Gravity Falls and the 2017 DuckTales, two phenomenal shows. So clearly someone who had the opportunity to work on both is going to make something just as great. Amazing? A third word for really f***ing good? Look, I know it's only the first episode, but you don't understand. Let's just cut to spoiler warning. I don't want to hold anything back at any point. Let's go. So if I could describe the Owl House in one word, it would be storybook. And that might sound kind of weird at first, but if I had a list of favorite first episodes, I truly believe the Owl House will still go on here years from now. And I think a part of that reason is that this episode in itself, despite having to do the obligatory first episode checklist, introducing the characters, the settings, any possible hints of an overarching story, the Owl House does manage to execute that checklist, but while also being its own grand adventure. And it does so in a way that reminds me of an adventure fantasy book I would read as a kid in elementary, maybe even with illustrations attached. But that's looking at the episode as a standalone. Even when you look at how it starts as the beginning of this long-spanning multi-season adventure, it still feels like the premise of an ongoing book series. And that's something I believe a lot of Disney cartoons in particular pull off. Whenever you describe the actual plot lines of these series, even beyond the premise, they very much sound like book series akin to Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, Chronicles of Narnia. I promise I'm actually not just naming the film adaptations. A lot of the serialized Disney catalog plays out like those fantasy stories, the end of each season being its own book. But you just gotta read the next one to see what happens next in a different adventure. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. This is only the first episode. Let's not get hyped for its Voldemort yet. But this first episode does have that storybook adventure, as at the start of the episode, you're with Luz on Earth, needing to go to summer camp, but then we get whisked away to this horrifyingly magical demon realm. You meet the quirky, eccentric adult main character, the sidekick, then the goal, then the conflict to that goal, the twist, the climax, and then the resolution. Like, if this episode actually concluded with Luz going back to Earth with an open-ended, "Oh, I'll come back to visit," I think it would have felt completely natural. But of course she decides to stay, which is just as natural because who wouldn't want to live there? You got this rad badass witch lady and this adorable tiny digi Pokemon. Why would you go back? While I'm buttering up these characters, let's talk about them. Luz kind of surprised me as a main character. I think I was expecting a character who was curious yet kind of timid in this otherworldly situation, but instead she's very rebellious. There's a sprinkle of curiosity here and there, but she's straightforward and so far doesn't seem to overthink anything. She just goes for it. That's not to say she's a completely impulsive character. She doesn't do everything with impulse. This pilot does demonstrate that she'll take a moment to think about something, but she doesn't hesitate. And obviously she's not invincible and she knows that. And the writers know that. I think they do a very good job of not just making her a teenager or a kid, but human. Again, she's not a timid character, but she does rightfully get afraid in situations I think anyone would be afraid in. But it's not a personality trait. She's not Courage the Cowardly Dog. And it was just little moments like the owl taking her backpack. She didn't wait, she didn't freak out, she just chased the owl for her backpack. Or probably a better example, when her book ended up in Ida's clutches, she didn't try to sneakily take it from Ida. And she wasn't paralyzed with fear. How am I gonna get away with this? She simply was like, yo, that's my book. But I feel like most shows would have done the aforementioned. Granted, Luz did think Ida was a human, but that's besides the point. When it came to retrieving the crown, Luz didn't pause or hesitate, she just went right in there. Ida and King are a great duo as well. And honestly, I think they did a great job of making Ida relatable for any adult audiences. Despite being a witch with a bounty of millions on her head and the proclaimed king of demons, these two are broke. They live in the backwoods. And the only reason that we know so far Luz ended up in the demon realm in the first place was because Ida sent an owl to go steal human belongings in the human world in order to make a quick buck. Gotta love the entrepreneurship. Despite the situation, they find the little things in life to enjoy, like the Burger Queen crown, or as I'm sure Ida enjoyed, starting a prison riot. I do say right now I'm most interested in the development of King, as he does come off as the most prominent comedic relief character, but I'm hoping there's more to him being the king of demons, and that he gets a potentially emotional arc. But I love that cartoons are getting better and better at main characters feeling just like people. They're not defined by one or two qualities. That each and every conversation they have feels like a genuine, real conversation, which is accentuated by the voice acting. acting. I really adore the cast of this show. Everyone sounds perfect for their character, especially once you get a feel for their personalities. And the minor characters in this episode were a lot of fun as well. We got an Aaron Hansen cameo, or maybe it's not a cameo, maybe his character will come back. I especially enjoyed Fanfic Girl and Dana Terrace's self-insert character. I can almost relate. Maybe she throws some cartoons in there, I don't know. I also really enjoyed the character design. I feel like a lot of these characters are just appealing to look at, even just the random creatures thrown in here and there, which are also very unique. I think a great example is the Warden. I'm sure there'll be a lot of memes and comparisons to Bismuth, but I personally found it to be a unique spin on shape-shifting limbs, especially the way he kind of moves around in the climax all tentacle-like. Like, they did a really good job putting the horror in the horror comedy. And for this just being the first episode, I cannot wait to see what's up their sleeve. Beyond that, I really enjoyed the colors, like shout out to that stylist. This episode had a lot of different tones for the different settings, especially the prison tower. And of course, while we're loving the colors, the backgrounds were beautiful. Like, oh my god, they did not have to go in this hard, but I'm just so glad they did. And the soundtrack, magical. I think it really helps with the storybook vibes I was mentioning earlier. I'm really happy the episodes are a half hour as well. I truly believe they're gonna have an adequate amount of time to tell really amazing stories. I'm excited to see the school characters, what they're all about, and it just seems like right off the bat, the show has so many different storytelling avenues it could take. It seems like they're gonna have a very flexible cast to tell different stories with, and I want them to get weird with it, because typically with these shows, the weirder it gets, the greater it gets. No holding back, just balls to the walls. I also kind of love how blunt the message of the show is, fitting in versus not fitting in. I do think it's a very important message to not beat around the bush with, but instead just go, hey, be yourself! Sometimes shows just need to be straight up with those lessons. Not even lessons, just making very valid statements. But yes, Owl House, worthy of your time. It's great, can't recommend it enough. I cannot wait to see what's next. But have you guys seen Owl House? Yes, no, gonna check it out later? Let us know in the comments below or tweet your thoughts at Roundtable Vids. For my own thoughts, you can find me at AllTrickVox. We're also on Instagram, and you can help the Roundtable grow by becoming a member of the channel or supporting us over at Patreon. Link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please throw a like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. AllTrickVox, signing out.